While most people are anticipating a Wall Street crash that will trigger a collapse of the stock markets on a global scale, the U.S. indices are continuing to confound daunting economic figures that have typically preceded the major declines of the past. This is Sol Esprit. Throughout most of 2016, as I was preparing to publish my 8th book entitled The Coming of Wisdom, I took careful note of how the financial markets were reacting to the Trump-Clinton political posturings. Already in the third quarter of 2015, the decline was beginning to set in, Brexit being cited in the media as the cause of the nearly 3,000-point sudden drop. Then, right at the beginning of this year, in January, 2016 was off to a shaky start, once again testing the 15,000 level. That late 2015, early 2016 slide was only the second time in 4 years that the 50-month moving average was breached, the previous aborted crash having occurred in October of 2011, in which I gave brief mention of in several of my other videos dealing with this topic. The 2011 testing of the crash barrier happened at exactly the same time I published my book on the coming crash. Coincidence? Maybe not. Here's a chart showing those two major declines, which produced the 8th and 10th largest drops in U.S. history. What happened to suddenly halt the downward slide into oblivion that most market watchers believe will eventually occur? During the so-called presidential debates, as the salvation of America was hanging in the balance and rigorously being fought over by a billionaire business mogul opposed by yet another Rothschild Illuminati puppet, I had already included in the draft of my newest book the observation that if Hillary were to be selected, it would crash the stock market. Well, that didn't happen, even though the cooked election results continuously showed the witch queen ahead of our noble hope for the continued existence of America, the Donald himself. As that fate was being leaked by inside sources privy to his selection by yet unnamed factions, which most certainly involved the decision of the creators of the central banking cartel, the European Rothschilds, who own half of the world's wealth, the stock prices began to show signs of renewed life. Then, when the election month of November arrived, the stock indices soared to new all-time highs. Trump had trumped the front-runner, who then went berserk in a fit of rage that resulted in hospitalization for a nervous breakdown. Whew. Good thing she didn't rule over us, huh? Can you imagine what such a creature would have done for investor confidence? The Wall Street crowd is almost 100% men, and a few may even be gentlemen, but don't count on it. And they not only believe that greed is good, but are shrewd businessmen who would never have gone along with a cauldron-dancing, gun-confiscating, baby-aborting Illuminati shill. Had the decision not been made to disallow her reign, the U.S. stock market would now be in a dramatic state of decline. Those of you that have read my book, When Will the Illuminati Crash the Stock Market, know that I not only predicted the major crashes of the last 2 decades, but more recently called for a dual crash of the American economy. In that book, published in 2011, I stated there are to be 2 crash events. The first one will occur in the year 2016. And it will be the lesser crash. The second crash is the major event, and it will occur, well, it's in the book. The 2016 crash was halted after only a 3,000-point drop. But the follow-up crash will not be halted. That one will be the real deal. So we now know why the crash of 2016 didn't occur. Let's just call it the Trump effect. Or does it have more to do with the fact that America isn't disarmed yet? Undoubtedly, Mr. Donald's presidency was the key factor that gave investors the needed confidence to drive the stock market to new highs, the Dow rallying from 15,000 to 20,000 in less than a year. Most of that occurred in just the last 2 months. Amazing how it does that, isn't it? So much for slow, steady growth of the economy. For insiders, manipulation of the stock market is a fool's paradise. I wrote a book on that. There's an expression that goes like this: the less that people know, the easier they are to control. We can now deduce that the Illuminati has its sights set on higher ground for the stock market. But just how high is up? Admittedly, the more they can diverge it from any known economic reality, the more it will advance into the stratosphere. And, of course, there will be a day of reckoning. it will come back down. For as another witticism tells us, what goes up must come down. I think it was Isaac Newton who said that, wasn't it? But that was before apples were genetically modified. I wrote a book on that too. Bottom line is that they aborted the first economic meltdown, but they'll never get away with stopping the next one. Better strap on your crash helmets. It's going to be a tsunami bloodbath. I'll end this video on that optimistic thought. And until next time, cheers and keep looking up.